You've been erased before. Maybe not literally, but mentally, socially, strategically. Someone told your story without asking. Someone framed you as weak, difficult, irrelevant. And the worst part? You let them. You stood there hoping truth would defend itself. It didn't. Because truth doesn't fight, narratives do, and whoever controls the narrative controls reality. This isn't about fairness. It's about survival. Every second you're not shaping how you're seen, someone else is doing it for you. And they won't ask permission. Most people think communication is about honesty. It's not. It's about power. Words don't just convey, they colonize. They plant ideas, shift perception, rewrite memory. The strong use language like architects use steel, deliberately, precisely, without apology. The weak use it like decoration, hoping someone notices, hoping someone cares. That's the difference between respect and invisibility. You either design how you're perceived, or you disappear into whatever story serves someone else's agenda. There's no third option, no middle ground, just control or erasure. Here's what you won't hear anywhere else. Your reputation isn't built on what you do, it's built on what people believe you did. And belief is shaped by whoever speaks first, speaks clearest, speaks coldest. You can be right and still lose. You can work harder and still be forgotten, because the game isn't about effort. It's about narrative dominance. And if you don't learn to play it, you'll spend your entire life wondering why competence didn't translate into respect, why loyalty didn't earn protection, why being good wasn't enough. This isn't manipulation, this is awareness. Machiavelli didn't teach deception, he taught reality. Sun Tzu didn't promote violence, he mapped human behavior under pressure. What you're about to learn isn't evil, it's just uncomfortable, because it forces you to admit something you've been avoiding. The world doesn't reward the honest, it rewards the compelling. And if you can't compel, you can't compete. So the question becomes simple. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be remembered? Let's begin with the structure beneath every empire, every brand, every untouchable figure you've ever envied. Reality bends to whoever controls the frame. You think truth matters. It doesn't. What matters is the version people believe. Perception is architecture, built brick by brick through repetition, tone, and strategic silence. Every interaction is a construction site. You're either the architect or the material. Most people hand over the blueprints without realizing it. They let others define them, frame them, reduce them. That's not weakness. That's surrender of power. When you fail to shape how you're seen, you become whatever narrative serves someone else's agenda. People don't process reality. They process stories. The human brain craves coherence, not truth. Give them a compelling narrative, and they'll defend it like religion. This is why politicians win with slogans, not policies. Why brands dominate with emotion, not features. The story that sticks becomes the reality that rules. You see it everywhere. Someone gets accused, and before evidence arrives, the perception solidifies. The damage is done, not because of facts, because of framing. Control is never about being right. It's about being first, clear and unshakable. You've been taught that authenticity wins, that being yourself is enough. That's a comforting lie sold to those who don't want to think strategically. Authenticity without control is just chaos waiting to be exploited. You don't win by being real, you win by being deliberate. Every word, every pause, every gesture sends a signal. Signals build patterns, patterns build perception, perception builds dominance. The moment you stop designing how you're seen, someone else starts sculpting your image for their benefit, and they won't ask permission. Look at Machiavelli. Hated by moralists, studied by emperors, he didn't care about fairness or approval. He cared about legacy. His name survived centuries not because he was liked, but because he controlled his narrative with ruthless precision. He knew the game. You either define yourself with clarity, or you're defined by those who fear your potential. Most people are too afraid to admit this. They hide behind humility, kindness, and moderation, then wonder why they're overlooked, underestimated, dismissed. The world respects what it cannot ignore, and it ignores what it cannot define. You walk into a room, and within seconds, judgments form. Not based on who you are, based on how you present the information, your posture, your tone, the way you hold silence. These are tools, not accidents. The weak stumble through interactions, hoping to be understood. The strong design, the understanding before it forms. This isn't manipulation. This is survival psychology. In a world where attention is currency and respect is earned through perception, you cannot afford to be misread. You cannot afford to let others write your story while you stand there hoping they'll be fair. But here's the edge most miss. Perception isn't about deception. It's about clarity with intention. You don't lie, you frame. You don't fake, you emphasize. Every leader, every icon, every figure who commanded respect understood this. Steve Jobs didn't just build products, he built a mythology around innovation. Machiavelli didn't just write theory, he embedded his philosophy into the consciousness of power itself. They controlled the architecture of how they were perceived, and that architecture outlasted their lives. The question isn't whether you'll be judged. You will. The question is, who's holding the pen? Words don't just communicate, they colonize minds. Every sentence you speak is either planting a seed or surrendering ground. Most people treat language like decoration. They talk to fill space, to comfort, to connect. That's not communication. That's noise. Real power lives in the gap between what you say and what they conclude. You guide the conclusion without stating it. You let them think they arrived there alone. That's how you win without them knowing a war was fought. Repetition builds reality. Say something once, it's an opinion. Say it 3 times with conviction, it becomes fact in their mind. The weak believe honesty is enough. They think clarity equals transparency. Wrong. Clarity is a weapon when wielded with precision. Transparency is vulnerability when given to those who haven't earned it. Sun Tzu said all warfare is based on deception, but the deepest deception isn't lying. It's controlling what truth gets seen, when it gets seen, and how it's framed. A general doesn't reveal troop positions out of fairness. A strategist doesn't hand over leverage because someone asked nicely. You speak with purpose, not politeness. Every word carries weight or it's wasted breath. Watch how the powerful frame defeat as strategy, how they rewrite failure as evolution. This isn't spin, it's survival instinct sharpened into art. When a company loses money, they call it restructuring for growth. When a politician reverses course, it's adapting to new information. The event didn't change, the narrative did. And the narrative determines whether respect grows or crumbles. You've seen people destroy themselves with poor framing. They apologize when they should clarify. They explain when they should assert. They give context to those hunting for weakness. Every word becomes a rope they hand their enemies. I learned this the hard way in negotiations where silence crushed me more than any argument. Someone asked a question designed to trap me. I answered honestly, completely, desperately trying to prove my point. I lost. Not because I was wrong, because I showed my hand. Later, I watched someone else face the same trap. They paused, smiled slightly, said, "Interesting question. Let me ask you this instead." They redirected, reframed, controlled the psychological territory without surrendering an inch. That's narrative warfare, not louder, sharper, not more precise. The person who controls the frame controls the outcome, even when the facts stay the same. People don't remember what you said. They remember how you made the information feel. This is why fear works better than logic, why authority outweighs evidence, why a confident lie travels faster than a hesitant truth. Your tone, your pacing, your certainty. These aren't accessories to your message. They are the message. Someone tells you a rumor. You can respond with facts and desperation, trying to correct the record. Or you can respond with cold dismissal. People say a lot of things. I don't respond to noise. One sounds defensive. The other sounds untouchable. Same situation, different psychology, different power. Machiavelli understood that the appearance of virtue mattered more than virtue itself. He wasn't promoting dishonesty. He was mapping human behavior. People follow conviction, not correctness. They respect certainty, not fairness. When you speak, you're not just delivering information. You're shaping how that information lands, spreads, and solidifies. This is why lawyers rehearse tone, why leaders script pauses, why interrogators weaponize silence. Words are the surface. Narrative is the structure beneath. Master the structure, and the words become irrelevant. Lose the structure, and no amount of honesty will save you. The moment you understand this, truly grasp it, conversations stop feeling random. Every exchange becomes a chess match. Not hostile, not paranoid, just aware. You see the moves before they happen. You recognize the frame before it closes, and you don't react, you redirect. This isn't about being cold, it's about being conscious. Because once you see how easily perception bends, how quickly narratives shift, you realize something terrifying. Most people are fighting wars they don't even know exist. But now you do. Every time you react, you surrender the frame. Emotion is information leaking from your system. Information your opponent will use against you. You raise your voice, you've lost. You defend too quickly, you've confirmed their suspicion. You show anger, fear, or desperation, and the room recalibrates around your weakness. This isn't about suppressing feeling. It's about refusing to let feeling dictate your response. The person who stays calm doesn't just appear stronger. They become the gravitational center of every interaction. Others orbit around composure. They crash into their own chaos while you remain still, watching, calculating. People test you constantly, not always consciously. They push boundaries to see where you break, where you bend, where you reveal the crack in your armor. A colleague questions your decision in a meeting. A partner brings up an old mistake during an argument. A stranger disrespects you in public. These aren't random moments. They're stress tests. Your reaction writes the next chapter of how you'll be treated. Respond with emotion, and you teach them that pressure works. Respond with cold clarity, and you teach them that you don't operate on their frequency. The weak think control means hiding emotion. The strong know control means choosing when emotion serves you, and when it doesn't. I've watched leaders crumble because they couldn't separate their ego from the moment. Someone questioned their authority, And instead of addressing the question, they defended their identity. That's the difference between power and insecurity. Power answers the challenge. Insecurity defends the self. When you make it personal, you've already lost narrative control. The other person now knows exactly how to manipulate you, just aim for the ego. But when you treat attacks like weather, observable, predictable, irrelevant to your core, you become unreadable. And what people can't read, they can't manipulate. Stoicism teaches this relentlessly. The obstacle is not the event, it's your judgment of the event. Marcus Aurelius commanded armies and empires, yet his private writings obsess over one theme: emotional sovereignty. He knew that external control begins with internal dominance. You can't command respect if you can't command yourself. Every time you let someone provoke you into anger, you've handed them the remote control to your behavior. They press a button, you react. That's not strength, that's programming. Ruthless clarity demands you recognize the game and refuse to play on their terms. Watch how the composed rewrite reality in real time. Someone accuses them publicly. They don't scramble. They don't justify. They pause. They meet the accusation with measured words and zero emotional charge. That's an interesting perspective. Here's what actually happened. No defensiveness, no aggression. Just cold factuality delivered with the weight of someone who doesn't need your approval to know their truth. The accuser expected emotion. They got stone. That gap between expectation and reality is where dominance lives. The narrative shifts, not because of what was said, but because of how unshakable the delivery was. Emotion is leverage only when you control its release. Anger can be a tool if deployed strategically, a calculated outburst that draws a boundary or signals that a line has been crossed. But random anger, that's just weakness wearing a mask. Fear can sharpen focus if you channel it into preparation. But visible fear, that's an invitation for predators. The difference between emotional control and emotional suppression is intent. Suppression is hiding. Control is choosing. You feel everything. You just refuse to let those feelings write the script. The frame stays yours because the composure never breaks. This is why negotiators train to read micro-expressions but control their own. Why interrogators use silence as a weapon. Why the most dangerous people in any room are often the quietest. They're not passive. They're observing. They're not weak. They're patient. And while everyone else burns energy reacting, defending, proving, they're collecting data. Every emotional reaction you give away is a piece of intelligence about how to move you. Every composed response you deliver is a wall they can't climb. Control the emotion. Control the narrative. Control the narrative. Control the outcome. But here's what most won't admit. Staying calm when disrespected feels like swallowing poison. It feels like weakness in the moment. Your body screams to react, to defend, to prove you're not soft. That's the test. That's the exact moment where power is won or lost. Because the person who can sit in that discomfort, who can feel the rage and choose the response anyway, that person operates on a level most will never reach. And once you taste that kind of control, once you see how it bends rooms and shifts outcomes, you'll never go back to reacting again. Truth is not a virtue. It's a resource. And like any resource, its value depends on when, how, and to whom you deploy it. The naive believe honesty is a blanket policy. They spill everything, thinking transparency builds trust. What it actually builds is vulnerability. Every piece of information you release is a tool someone else can use, for you or against you. The powerful understand this instinctively. They don't lie, they curate. They reveal what serves the moment and withhold what doesn't. This isn't deception, it's discretion. And discretion is the difference between influence and exploitation. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must learn how not to be good, not because goodness is wrong, but because unconditional goodness is suicide in a world that doesn't operate on fairness. The same applies to truth. Telling the whole truth to everyone makes you predictable. Predictability is weakness. When people know everything about you, your methods, your limits, your fears, they know exactly how to corner you. Strategic silence isn't about hiding. It's about maintaining the advantage of mystery. Let them guess. Let them assume. Let them fill the gaps with their own projections. What they imagine is often more powerful than what you'd reveal anyway. You've seen this play out in business, politics, relationships. Someone asks a direct question designed to extract commitment or corner you into a position. The weak answer immediately, hoping honesty will earn respect. It doesn't. It earns exploitation. The strong pause. They answer the question they wish had been asked. They redirect without lying. That's one way to look at it. Here's what I focus on instead. They control what gets discussed, not by avoiding truth, but by framing which truth matters. This is linguistic jujitsu. You use their energy, their question, their expectation, and redirect it toward terrain you dominate. I learned this watching someone navigate a corporate acquisition. Investors demanded projections, timelines, risk assessments. If he'd been completely transparent, he'd have revealed every weak point in the company's armor. Instead, he gave them truth, but selective truth. He emphasized strengths, framed uncertainties as market variables, and presented risks as strategic considerations already being addressed. Nothing he said was false, but nothing he said gave them ammunition either. The deal closed. Not because he lied, because he controlled which truths shaped the perception. That's the edge most people never sharpen. Power lives in the space between what you know and what you show. This is why intelligence agencies operate on need-to-know protocols. Why master negotiators never reveal their walkaway point. Why the most respected figures in any field rarely explain their full process. They understand that mystique is protective, that selective disclosure maintains leverage. The moment you explain everything, you lose the aura of depth. People stop respecting what they fully understand. They respect what remains just out of reach. You don't owe anyone access to your entire mental database. Respect is earned. Full transparency is a gift, and gifts should never be given freely to those who haven't proven they won't weaponize them. This doesn't mean you become cryptic or manipulative for sport. It means you become intentional. Before you speak, you ask, does this serve me? Does this serve the outcome I want? Does this person deserve this level of access? If the answer is no, you recalibrate. You don't lie. You just don't volunteer. Silence is a complete sentence. I'm not discussing that right now is a boundary, not a crime. The guilt you feel around withholding comes from conditioning. You were taught that good people share everything, that honesty means total exposure. That's not morality. That's programming designed to keep you controllable. The ruthless know something the rest don't. Information is currency, and currency should never be spent without return. Every truth you give away shifts the balance of power. Either it strengthens your position or weakens it. There's no neutral, so you become surgical. You reveal strategically. You speak with precision, not compulsion. You let them wonder, let them probe, let them assume. And while they're busy guessing, you're 3 moves ahead, because you never showed them the full board. That's not dishonesty, that's dominance. And dominance doesn't apologize for protecting its advantage. But here's the part that separates amateurs from masters. Selective truth only works if your actions remain consistent. You can withhold details, redirect questions, guard your process. But your results must speak louder than your silence. Because if you obscure everything and deliver nothing, you're not strategic. You're just paranoid. The powerful let their outcomes validate their discretion. They don't need to explain because the results explain for them. And when results speak, no one questions what you chose not to say. Ambiguity is a weapon, but only in the hands of those who wield it deliberately. Most people drown in vagueness because they're afraid to commit. They hedge every statement, soften every boundary, dilute every command. They think flexibility makes them likable. What it actually makes them is forgettable. Clarity is violence against mediocrity. It cuts through noise, eliminates confusion, and forces everyone in the room to confront what's actually being said. When you speak with ruthless precision, you don't give people room to misinterpret. You don't leave gaps for excuses. You define the reality, and everyone else operates within the frame you built. The weak fear clarity, because clarity demands accountability. If you say exactly what you mean, you can't hide behind, "That's not what I meant," when it's challenged. If you draw a hard boundary, you have to enforce it. If you make a promise, you have to deliver. Vagueness is the refuge of cowards who want the appearance of communication without the risk of commitment. But power doesn't live in maybes. It lives in absolutes. I will, or I won't. This is acceptable, or this crosses the line. No gray area, no room for negotiation unless you choose to open it. The moment you speak with that level of precision, people stop testing you. They know exactly where they stand. And that certainty creates respect, even when they don't like the answer. Watch how leaders operate in crisis. They don't say, "We're exploring options," or "We'll try our best." They say, "Here's what's happening, here's what we're doing, here's what I expect from you." The words are surgical. The tone is unshakable. There's no space for doubt, because doubt spreads like infection in moments of chaos. Clarity is the antidote. It doesn't guarantee success, but it guarantees that everyone knows the mission. And when people know the mission, they stop wasting energy on confusion and start executing. This is why military commands are direct, why emergency protocols are blunt, why the most effective communicators strip language down to its skeleton. No decoration, no softening, just the message delivered with force. I've seen businesses collapse because leadership couldn't communicate with clarity. Meetings would end with everyone nodding, but no one actually knew what was expected. Deadlines were soon. Priorities were important but flexible. Consequences were implied but never stated. That's not leadership. That's organizational paralysis disguised as collaboration. Compare that to a CEO who says, "This project launches in 30 days. If it's not ready, we're cutting it and moving to plan B." No extensions, no excuses, questions. Brutal, maybe. But everyone leaves that room knowing exactly what's at stake and what's required. Clarity removes the comfort of ambiguity, and that discomfort forces performance. Precision in language is precision in thought. If you can't say it clearly, you don't understand it fully. This is why academics hide behind jargon and bureaucrats drown in legalese. Complexity masks incompetence. True mastery is the ability to make the complex simple without losing its power. Einstein said, "If you can't explain it simply, You don't understand it well enough. That's not just about teaching. It's about dominance. When you can distill an idea into one sharp sentence, you control how it's understood. When you ramble, hedge, and circle around the point, you surrender control to whoever interprets your noise into meaning. Ruthless clarity also means killing softeners. I think, maybe, kind of, sort of. These are verbal tics that erode authority. They signal uncertainty even when you're certain. Compare, I think we should move forward, with, we're moving forward. One sounds like a suggestion open for debate. The other sounds like a decision that's already been made. The second version doesn't invite challenge, it communicates inevitability. This doesn't mean you become rigid or refuse input. It means when you speak with conviction. And when you're uncertain, you admit it directly. I don't have enough data yet. That's still clarity. It's still control, because you're defining your position instead of letting vagueness do it for you. But here's where most fail. They confuse clarity with cruelty. Ruthless clarity isn't about being harsh, it's about being honest without cushioning. You don't need to insult someone to tell them their work isn't acceptable. You just say, this doesn't meet the standard. Here's what needs to change. No anger, no shame, just the truth delivered cleanly. The person on the receiving end might not like it, but they'll respect it more than a sugar-coated lie that leaves them confused. Clarity creates boundaries. Boundaries create respect. Respect creates power. And power doesn't apologize for being direct. The world is drowning in noise. Everyone's talking, posting, explaining, justifying, but almost no one is saying anything with weight. Be the exception. Speak less. Mean more. Every word should carry intention. Every sentence should land with purpose. When you master ruthless clarity, you stop needing volume to be heard. You stop needing repetition to be understood. You say it once and it sinks in like a blade. Clean, precise, unforgettable. Every story dies, except the ones written with conviction. You think legacy is something that happens after you're gone? Wrong. Legacy is being built right now, in every decision you make, every boundary you enforce, every moment you choose power over approval. Most people stumble through life hoping to be remembered fondly. They want to be liked, to be missed, to have people say nice things at their funeral. That's not legacy. That's sentiment. Real legacy is when your name carries weight long after your breath stops. When your ideas outlive your body. When people who never met you still feel the impact of choices you made decades ago. Machiavelli understood this with surgical precision. He didn't write The Prince to make friends. He wrote it to crystallize power into language that couldn't be ignored. Centuries later, his name is synonymous with strategy, ruthlessness, and political dominance. Was he loved? No. Was he remembered? Absolutely. He controlled his narrative so completely that even his enemies had to study him. That's the difference between being liked and being permanent. Approval fades the moment you're not useful. Legacy endures because it's built on truth, not comfort. You don't get remembered for being nice. You get remembered for being undeniable. You've seen people obsess over their reputation in real time. What others think, what others say, how they're perceived in the moment. That's short-term thinking disguised as self-awareness. Reputation is what people believe about you today. Legacy is what history records about you forever. Reputation shifts with every rumor, every misunderstanding, every shift in public opinion. Legacy is carved in stone by the choices you made when no one was watching. The powerful don't chase reputation, they build legacy. They make decisions that compound over time. They create systems, ideas, or movements that outlive the immediate reaction. That's the long game most people are too impatient to play. I've watched people destroy their potential trying to please everyone in the room. They dilute their message to avoid offending anyone. They soften their stance to maintain comfort. They compromise their vision to keep the peace. And in doing so, they become forgettable. Compare that to figures who stood firm in their conviction, controversial, polarizing, even hated, but impossible to ignore. Martin Luther King Jr. wasn't universally loved during his life. He was surveilled, threatened, imprisoned. But his words rewrote culture. His actions shifted history. His legacy is permanent because he didn't bend to comfort. He bent reality to his vision. That's the cost of permanence. You sacrifice likability for impact. Legacy isn't just about grand gestures or global movements. It's about the imprint you leave on everyone who crosses your path. Did you teach someone to think differently? Did you hold a standard that others adopted? Did you refuse to compromise when everyone else folded? Those ripples extend far beyond what you'll ever see. A mentor who refuses to lower standards creates students who refuse mediocrity. A leader who demands clarity creates teams who eliminate confusion. A parent who models emotional control raises children who don't collapse under pressure. You don't need statues or history books to leave a legacy. You just need to be so unshakable in your principles that people can't help but carry pieces of you forward. But here's the trap. Legacy obsession can become another form of approval seeking if you're not careful. If you're constantly worried about how you'll be remembered, you're still operating from fear. True legacy comes from doing what must be done because it aligns with your internal code, not because it looks good posthumously. Marcus Aurelius wrote Meditations for himself, not for publication. It became one of the most influential texts in Western philosophy because it was authentic, not performative. He wasn't trying to build a legacy, he was trying to live with integrity. The legacy formed as a consequence. That's the paradox. The more you chase being remembered, the less memorable you become. The more you focus on doing what's right by your own ruthless standards, the more permanent your impact. Control the narrative, or vanish from history. Those aren't dramatic words. They're a function of reality. Every figure you remember, good, evil, or somewhere between, controlled how they were seen while they had the chance. They didn't wait for others to define them. They didn't hope history would be kind. They built the story with such force that history had no choice but to record it. You have the same option. Not someday. Right now. Every action you take is either reinforcing the narrative you want or surrendering to the one being written for you. There is no neutral ground. You're either the author or the footnote. This is not about being remembered forever by millions. Most legacies are smaller, quieter, but no less permanent. It's about whether the people whose lives you touched became stronger, sharper, more capable because you refused to soften your standards. It's about whether your absence leaves a vacuum or just empty space. The difference between the two is simple. Did you leave something behind that can't be replaced, or were you just filling time until someone better came along? That answer isn't determined at your funeral. It's determined right now in how you choose to show up when no one's applauding. You now understand what most will spend their entire lives avoiding. Perception is the only battlefield that matters. Every interaction is a test of narrative control. Every silence, every word, every boundary you enforce or surrender writes the next chapter of how you're treated. This isn't theory. This is the operating system beneath every power structure you've ever witnessed. The moment you stop shaping your story, you become a character in someone else's. And characters don't choose their fate. Authors do. Control isn't given, it's taken. Through clarity, through composure, through the ruthless precision of someone who refuses to be misunderstood or underestimated. You don't need permission to rewrite how you're seen. You need conviction. The weak will call this cold. Let them. They're still reacting while you're redesigning. They're still explaining while you're executing. Legacy isn't built on likability. It's built on the refusal to vanish into irrelevance because you were too afraid to own your narrative. But here's what you're missing: the foundation beneath all of this. Before you can control the narrative, you need to understand the deeper mechanism, why people try to control you in the first place, and how to make yourself uncontrollable. That's not covered here. That's covered in the previous video. They can't control you. Machiavelli's ruthless secret. If you skipped it, you're building on sand. That video dissects the exact psychological leverage others use to keep you reactive, apologetic, and manageable. Watch it. Not when you feel like it, now. Because narrative control without internal sovereignty is just performance, and performance crumbles under pressure. Write this in the comments. No explanation, just the phrase, "I control the narrative." Not as a hope, as a declaration. Let it be recorded. Let it anchor in your mind. Let it remind you that from this moment forward, you are no longer passive in how you're perceived. Your legacy is being written right now. Make sure your hand is holding the pen.